Our next guest almost needs no introduction. Now, even though his name is Rick Ross, somebody stole his name, all right? And I'm serious, he was in litigation for that. But this brother has been a trial of triumph, tragedy, back to triumph, a unique story. If any of you get an opportunity to go online and look up the BET story, American Gangster, you will have an opportunity to see his life story, and he can tell you about it better than I can. This gentleman, at one time, was in the legitimate business of sports enterprise, and he got coaxed into making big money. He was the largest crack dealer in the United States. And it even gets worse. During the time that he was dealing and setting up a phenomenal empire where he was making $3 million plus a day with his empire, he did not know that he was a pawn in a political structure. How many of you remember Iran-Contra? Put your hands up high. Remember that? A lot of people. What happened is Congress failed to fund a Central American war where the Contras were fighting some folks. And as a result of that, a guy named Oliver North decided that he was going to run cocaine. And they have recordings that indicate, you know, we don't want to do business with the ends. But then somebody else said, but the ends pay cash for their drugs. As a result of that, he became a pawn and got a direct line to work with purchasing cocaine from people who worked for the CIA. Ronald Reagan was a part of that. I'm sorry, St. Ronald happened to be a part of it. And also Oliver North. Oliver North went to Fox Television, had a TV show, made millions of dollars. And Rick Ross went to prison for life. Okay? But a lot of people, including Congresswoman Maxine Waters, said that ain't right. And she stepped in, and a number of other people stepped in, and here he is. Let's hear his story, and welcome Rick Ross.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. And you kind of summed my story up there a little bit. A few things he left out. I didn't learn how to read or write till I was 28 years old, sitting in prison without the possibility of parole. There's an article that they did on me, I think 2 years ago in LA Magazine, and it was written by a reporter by the name of Jesse Katz. And in that article, Jesse talked about writing my obituary. Usually when I go out and speak to the high school kids and college kids, I take that article with me because it gives them a shocking that most people don't understand. But I taught myself to read and write while I was in prison. I had to learn my ABCs all over again. And lucky for me that I did, because everybody had given up on me. My lawyer had told me that I was never getting out again, and just to get comfortable. But I started reading the law like I sold drugs. I started putting my all into it every day, all day. And one day, just out of the blue, these words just popped out that I'd been looking for. That said that they couldn't give me a life sentence and that my sentence was wrong. I wound up doing 20 years in prison, but it was a lot better than a life sentence. Before I left prison, I read over 300 books, mostly business related. This right here is my new autobiography. I self-published. I'm a bestseller right now on Amazon. And where I think that I'm my brother's keeper, well, right now there's a group of people that don't read that are reading my book. Because what I found out is that people want to read about stuff they can relate to. I went to a high school in Columbus, Ohio, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was a group of young men that they were teaching. They had about 8 police in there, and they were talking to them, and the police wasn't able to get these young men attention. They were talking in little groups and being disrespectful to the police officers, and what the officers were giving them was kind of beneficial, because I know the law now, and I kind of saw what they were trying to give them, but the young men didn't want to hear it because it was a messenger. But when I got up and introduced myself to them, you could drop a pin on the floor and you could hear it. When I first walked up, the principal was a little nervous about letting me speak to him. But before I left, a couple of the young men came up to me about my book, and they was like, well, can I just read a couple paragraphs out of it? Well, that principal, he bought 40 books from me. It was the first school to buy my book. And he followed me to my car. So what I found out is that we can be our brother's keepers a lot of ways. My way of giving back was to write a book that I felt was missing when I was coming up. Because when I was coming up, the guys who taught me how to sell drugs, they didn't tell me the whole game. They didn't tell me that I was going to go to prison, that I was going to be looking at a life sentence, that the government was going to take everything that I had, and that all my friends would be in prison with me. And then the people who implemented this conspiracy were the same people now who were incarcerating us. You left out George Bush too in that.
Yes.
In that.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The guy that I was getting my drugs from, his boss went on a fishing trip with George Bush, and he's the one who said that the ends justify the means, basically saying that if they sell drugs to the ends, nobody's going to care. So that's my story. Thank you all for having me here.
Redemption. Right here.